What's up, everyone? Happy Football Friday. Happy Combine Week. Been having a blast watching the Combine during class and not actually doing schoolwork. That's how you got to do it.
I'm going to tell your professors now. We
That's
have it on record.
perfectly fine. Don't give a shit about environmental law. Anyways, yeah, great to be here. We'll talk about Combine in a second. Got some other stuff just before that, and then finish up the show with my horrible predictions for Conference-USA and the FBS Independents. UFL news, just one signing to mention as UFL teams going through training camp. We are officially 29 days away from the opener, March 30th. 2 games there, 2 games on the 31st. The Stallions, the back-to-back defending USFL champs, they signed former Generals defensive end Hercules Mataafa, former Viking as well.
Woo! Represent.
There you go. Played with the Vikings 2018 to 2020, undrafted in 2018. Excellent player, though, for the New Jersey Generals the last couple of seasons. So Stallions, again, getting richer there. College football news, also a big player movement in the transfer portal. James Madison, quarterback Jordan McLeod, heading to Texas State. Your Texas State Bobcats.
Yes. I love this pickup.
I am super excited. I was such a fan of JMU. I have been a fan of JMU for a while. But to see Jordan McLeod in the offense, in GJ Kinney's offense at Texas State, they're going to have a real good shot at winning the Sun Belt this year because they were explosive last year with TJ Finley. Now they get McLeod in, who I think is a better quarterback overall. Finley was a better runner, but I think McLeod overall is a better passer. So, yeah, I'm super excited about that and what Texas State's going to look like this coming year. All right, let's talk about the Combine. So right now we have DBs on the field working out, or specifically corners, I guess. The safeties are coming up, and then tight ends will be later tonight. No Brock Bowers, though, unfortunately, there. Stars from last night. Day one was interior D-line, edge rushers, and off-ball linebackers. So the biggest one I saw, Braden Fisk from Florida State, absolutely electric. I was super impressed by his foot speed, and he ran the fastest 40 of all the interior D-line. Fastest 40 of all the D tackles. 4.78 for him. Little on the lighter side. He was, one of the lighter D tackles. Fourth lightest, it looks like, if I'm doing just a real quick look here at all the DTs. Fourth lightest, 6'4", 292. Short arms, just 31 inches. That's the shortest of all the D tackles. And I didn't get a chance to look at his bench, but he did do pretty well. I think he still put up, because I saw it just glancing by on X today. He did pretty well. He finished 7th in terms of the guys that did it, which there was only 10 guys that did the bench for the D tackles. So, 7 out of 10, not very good, but still 26 reps is solid. 3 guys got 29. Jordan Jefferson from LSU just blew everyone out of the water with 34 on the bench. Okay. Braden Fisk was one. Unfortunately, I didn't get to watch the off-ball linebackers a lot, but I did see my guy. I love Peyton Wilson from NC State. 4.43 in the 40, blazing. Was impressed by him. And then other than that, let's see, other D tackles. Chris Jenkins from Michigan, also very good on the on-field drills. The acceleration in and out of the breaks as well. Both of the Texas guys stood out, Byron Murphy and Tavondre Sweat. I mean, 366 running downhill at you on the 40.
I love him so much. I want him so.
I mean,
I want him as a Viking so bad.
Dude, 1.8 10-yard split. I know that was the tied for the second worst of all the D tackles, but I mean, still, and he ran the slowest time of anyone. But again, 366 pounds. It's you're going to run slower when you're. I don't know who's even the next closest. I think 326 is the next closest. He's 40 pounds heavier than the next closest guy in the D tackles. So, I mean, yeah, it is expected. The numbers really don't matter for Tavondre. It's just how he looked on the field, which he looked pretty solid, moving. And then last D tackle, I'll say Mekhi Wingo from LSU. I was impressed by him. Pretty quick. 40 time, 4.85, 1.6410, which was the fastest among the D tackles. So you can see the explosion there. Also really excellent in the vert, 31.5 inches. That tied for third in the DTs. Brayton Fisk, by the way, won that one on the vertical, 33.5 inches. Just ridiculous explosion from Fisk. In terms of edge rushers, love my guy Chop Robinson from Penn State. He was a beast last night. 4.48 in the 40, 1.54 10-yard split, which is ridiculous. 34.5 on the vert, 10.8 broad. He was really good. There was also Dallas Turner from Alabama jumped out of the gym, 4.46 40. Also had a 1.54 10, 40.5 on the vert, and a 10.7 broad jump. And then other than those two, let's see, who else was I impressed by? Mohamed Kamara from Colorado State. Love him. Undersized, just 6'1", 248, but excellent numbers in the testing. Latu, I know a lot of people were liking what he did. Big frame, 6'5", 259, 4.64 in the 40. And let's see. I was not impressed with Darius Robinson. I will say that. He jumped a lot at the Senior Bowl. And, I mean, his film shows that he can be productive. However, super slow in the 40, 4.95. His explosion wasn't great. He had the slowest 10-yard split of all the edge rushers, 1.73. Pretty solid vert at 35, but just a 9.3 broad jump. So it's interesting. I think a lot of teams are going to have to go back and look at his tape to see why his numbers were so slow and lower on the broad jump there. But, yeah, I was not impressed by him. And like I said, linebacker-wise, Peyton Wilson jumped out with the 40 time. Edefwan Olafosio from Washington had excellent numbers, 4.56 in the 40, 39.5 on the vert, 10.8 broad. those were both the highest in terms of the off-ball linebacker guys. It's very intriguing to see which guys do which drills. The linebackers were all over the place. There was a bunch of guys that didn't do anything, a bunch of guys that didn't run the 40, and then really all the groups yesterday, there weren't a ton of guys doing the 3-cone drill or the short shuttle. The D tackles actually had, I think, the most people do the short shuttle, but 3-cone was not a popular drill for some reason, or testing. And I thought the linebackers and the edge rushers would have wanted to do it a lot, because those are two positions that you need to change directions. So I don't know. We'll see if the DBs do the 3-cone more. But yeah, it was kind of weird looking at the numbers and like, why didn't so many guys do this? But yeah. Other combine notes here, talking about the quarterbacks. So North Carolina quarterback Drake May, he is going to join Caleb Williams. Jaden Daniels not working out at the combine. He'll meet with teams. He's going to meet with essentially the same teams that Jaden Daniels is speaking with, which are the Bears, Commanders, Vikings, Jets, Giants, Patriots, Raiders, Seahawks, Saints, and Falcons. Caleb Williams, similar list, but cutting down that number of teams to the Bears, Commanders, Patriots, Raiders, Falcons, Jets, Giants, and your Minnesota Vikings. Trade up one, baby.
I like it. I like the idea of us getting any of those 3 QBs. I see a lot of potential there.
And one negative note for the combine, during medical evals, bad news for Alabama corner Kool-Aid McKinstry. They found out he has a Jones fracture in his right foot. He's not going to work out, but he said he should be good to go by his pro day. So hopefully we'll see him work out there. General news, NFL-wise, the Raiders said they have no plans to trade wide receiver Devontae Adams. See if that holds up or not. But as far as right now, the Raiders will not be moving Devontae Adams anywhere. A rule change proposed for the meetings coming up later this month. The Browns, Commanders, Eagles, Jets, Lions, and the 49ers are joining together to propose to move the trade deadline back a couple weeks from week 8 to week 10. Makes a lot of sense. I saw the one article that I read was like, the earliest a team has been eliminated from playoff contention in the last like however many years has been week 11. So I think it'll make it more interesting because I don't know. There will be more teams involved. So maybe we'll see the deadline be more active like other leagues. But I don't know.
Yeah, the only downside I have, and this kind of comes from kind of knowledge of where trade deadlines are in relativeness to the end of their regular season. The NHL has probably the latest trade deadline in comparison to the rest of the major sports leagues in North America. And their trade deadlines tend to be kind of thin because teams are willing to give up less draft capital for less time on players.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, this player is really good. But by the time our trade deadline is here, we're 75% through the season. So they're only playing about 18 regular season games for us and then the playoffs. So that's a possible issue I could see with this. It's like, oh, we get them week 10. He only has 7 regular season games and maybe the playoffs instead of, 9. And, playoffs as well. That's the only downside I see of moving it back. It's like, okay, your value goes down, in trades for us because we just have less time with you. So, previously we might have given up a second round pick. Now we're looking at you as like, I can't do more than like a third. So that might make it harder on sellers, just because they might have a valuable guy, and it's like, well, you can't get anything more than a third, so there's no point in moving him. But that's the only downside. I think moving it back makes sense in terms of, like you mentioned, the competitive nature. Teams are less likely to be sellers by week 8 because you just don't know how much is left of the season. So you think, oh, like we can make a push, but like 2 weeks later, you go 0-2. Now you're sitting
4-6.
4-6. Yeah, 4-6, and it's like, oh well, we're kind of stuck now.
Yeah.
So there's a best of both worlds. There's also worst of both worlds. So we'll see how this works out for the league. I wouldn't mind it. I think in terms of major sports leagues, the NFL's trade deadline sucks. It's never intriguing. Comparison, like the NBA, MLB, and NHL, it's very much the most tame and kind of just biggest snooze fest. So maybe this helps.
Yeah, I think it's also like the facts and circumstances around what players are available, and it's hard too because without the NFL, with the NFL being the only league across the 4 majors to not have a minor league system, it's difficult to say, oh yeah, like we're going to give this guy away, but we don't have a replacement coming up. We don't know what we're going to get in the draft if we can replace this guy.
Yeah, that's why, in my opinion, the MLB trade deadline is great because the ability to trade prospects is such an intriguing part of the game as well. Same with the NHL. Just not having prospects to move around really hurts the intrigue of trade deadlines because it's like, okay, you're offering us this guy for a second, 4th round pick, but it's like,
and it's also the cash thing. The NFL limits that you can't move cash in a trade.
Oh yeah, that's very rough.
That also limits the possibilities in terms of trading. Even though you can technically, you can get around it, i.e. the Brock Osweiler trade. But that has been the only instance of trying to do that that I've seen. So, but yeah, I think it'll be good if it gets passed in the league meetings. Your Vikings,
my boys,
making some coaching hirings. They've hired former Panthers quarterbacks coach Josh McCown as the quarterbacks coach, and he's the same agent as one Mr. Kirk Cousins.
I don't want to look too into that.
Connect dots.
I think Josh McCown probably was brought in more for the fact that he works really well with young QBs. He's very much a guy that, if you look at his track record, he goes to teams that have young QBs and helps them develop. And another thing I don't think you mentioned here, he coached at the same high school that Drake May was quarterback at. I'm just saying, we got some familiarity there. I don't know. Maybe we could get a little 2-for-1 special with this hire. Retain Cousins for a couple years, have Drake May. Ooh, that's like golden scenario for me right there. Get them both and have Josh McCown, who has very good rapport with both of these quarterbacks. It'd be great.
That's how many first-round picks you got to give up to get to 3.
I'd do it. I would do it. I mean, give up the 9
plus. 3 first plus.
I get it. You have to do it for,
from 12
a top flight quarterback in the top 3 of the draft. It happens. The Vikings have never drafted a QB in the top 10 in their entire franchise's history. It's time for a change. We got to really be aggressive here and go after our guy. And I think that our guy will probably be at number 3. And I'm fully ready to make that trade.
The Jets speaking of former top 10 quarterback, the Jets have given quarterback Zach Wilson permission to seek a trade.
Viking.
Not sure. I'm not sure.
I saw betting odds had Vikings at the top for him.
I'm not sure where he's going to go, if he gets traded at all, or if it's just a straight release. It's going to be a tough market for Joe Douglas to kind of maneuver. I mean, obviously, the first round pedigree, number 2 overall pick, has weight. Former first round picks get traded for more than non-first round picks.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to have that. I think that alone gets you a 6, can get you a 6 for him. If someone comes out and gives a 5, I'd be sending that thing in as fast as I could to the NFL, because getting a 5 for Wilson, I think at this point would be a godsend for the Jets.
For me personally, I feel like this screams more trade draft swap as well. Like, I could see something where it's like, okay, this team has a late 5th. We have an early 6th. We'll give you Wilson, our 6th, for your late 5th, move up about 10, 15 spots. Mm-hmm. That's where I kind of see this kind of trade. It's like the Jets are definitely going to have to sweeten the pot when it comes to Zach Wilson. It's like, hey, we'll give you Zach. You'll just move back down about 10, 15 positions and work from there. That's my that's probably the best case scenario for both sides here. You know, if you trade for Zach, you get a still first round pedigree QB, still young, and only move back 15 spots. If you're the Jets, you're able to get something out of Zach Wilson. You're able to move up 15-ish spots, and you're able to just see what you can do.
The Justin Fields sweepstakes is apparently has 3 teams currently involved. The Falcons, Raiders, and the Steelers all involved. So it's the Falcons and the Raiders. No, not trading Pittsburgh. No.
Don't want them.
The Falcons, I think, are the number 1 landing spot. Returning to Georgia, he'd be a fan favorite.
The only thing is, though, I've heard Falcons might prefer Kirk Cousins over Justin Fields.
Well, I would too, but
who wouldn't? Come on.
Fields a lot cheaper.
That is true.
Even though you got to pay a draft pick. The 49ers interviewed Raiders safeties coach Gerald Alexander for their DC spot, last coordinator opening in the league. Franchise tag coming up, deadline. It's very inconvenient, the franchise tag deadline. It's the same day as the NHL trade deadline, I believe, March 8th. Yes. Very inconvenient. But 2 notes on that. The Ravens plan to tag defensive tackle Justin Madubuike if they cannot get a long-term deal done. And the Chiefs planning to do the same with corner L'Jarius Sneed. However, his situation is a little different than most of the tag players. They are open to trading him on a tag and trade situation. And they also gave him permission to seek a trade off of the franchise tag, which Philadelphia Eagles, thank you, sir. A couple restructures. The Packers restructuring linebacker Preston Smith, saving $2.4 million on the cap. Saints continuing to whittle down their cap there, restructuring defensive end Cam Jordan, $1.5 million saved on the cap. A lot of releases this week. It's 2 weeks before free agency? I think March 15th, 12th. I think it's March 12th. Maybe was that right on March 15th?
I'm looking.
12th, though. I think it's a Tuesday.
Wednesday, March 13th at 3 p.m. Central.
Okay, March 13th.
Yes.
12 days away from free agency. So a lot of guys getting free agency early here. Jets releasing guard Laken Tomlinson, $8.1 million on the cap savings for New York. Big money there. The Bucks, they released linebacker Shaq Barrett, post June 1 designation. So June 2nd, they will get $4.9 million in cap savings. Big monies on the dead cap hit, though, for Tampa next 2 years. $9.2 million dead cap hit this season, $17.4 million in 2025.
That's rough.
But it's better than having 26.6 this year altogether. At least you can split it over the next 2 years, post June 1 designation.
Wouldn't mind seeing him as a Viking. Wouldn't be a bad pick.
The Falcons, they released tight end Jonnu Smith. Excellent season last year for Atlanta.
Dude, you know Arthur Smith is salivating right now. He's like, my guy. He's
cool.
free. Come on, Steelers.
That's cool. We need a backup to Freiermuth. The Chiefs, they released wide receiver Marquez Valdez-Scantling, $12 million on the cap savings there. Very big money. Your Vikings releasing running back Alexander Madison.
Yeah. I mean, he had just an awful season. He's a running back that couldn't get into the end zone. And with the emergence of Ty Chandler this last year, and in my opinion, a pretty solid free agency running back class, along with a pretty okay draft class for running backs, this made a lot of sense.
Don't steal my Eagles running back and my Panthers running back in the mid rounds.
Too bad. We're taking them all. We're getting Saquon, Derrick Henry, then we're drafting Bucky Irving and Blake Corum because we can.
Good.
We're gonna revolutionize the game.
Good. I don't want Blake Corum. It's fine.
No, too bad.
Eagles, they released safety Kevin Byard. Pretty sunk cost for Philadelphia. Probably one of the worst moves I've seen Howie Roseman make in his time as Eagles GM. Sent 5th, 6th, and 6th round picks along with safety Terrell Edmonds to the Titans for Byard. Just never really worked out. That's why they are in the safety market on free agency in the draft this year.
Which is crazy because I remember when this trade went down, everyone was like, what are the Titans doing? They're like, oh, this is one of their better defensemen. What are they doing? And now we're sitting here like 5 months later and it's like, wow, they got good draft capital for this guy. Wow.
Led the NFL in interceptions a couple years ago.
He did.
The Commanders making big moves, releasing left tackle Charles Leno, tight end Logan Thomas, and center Nick Gates today. 3 big money deals off their books. Trying to shed salary to be big-time players in free agency. The Patriots, they released corner J.C. Jackson, whom they traded for last year.
Back to the Chargers.
They have almost $100 million in cap space now.
I think this put them at number 1 in cap space in the league now.
Yeah. That, like I said, them and the Commanders, like they are 2 franchises that are in great position. Number 2, number 3 in the draft, plus all this money to spend in free agency to build around a young quarterback if they go that route.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, wasn't great. Conference USA.
I'll let you recap this on your own, my friend. See you Monday.
Yes, sir. So I had UTEP, the Miners, winning Conference USA 10-2 this year. Not very good. They ended up going 3-9. I just believed in Gavin Hardison. He got injured early on. I thought the UTEP team was going to be better around him. It really wasn't. They had some solid offensive linemen, but the defense and the offense could really just never get it going. So I was disappointed by the Miners there. Western Kentucky, I had 8-4. I believe that's where they did finish. I don't recall their bowl game here. Yeah, so they finished 7-5 actually because they won their bowl game. So I was 1 game off there. They ended up finishing 4th in the conference. So I was happy to see them do well. The Austin Reed led Hilltoppers there. 9-4 for my third place was the New Mexico State Aggies. I knew they were going to do very well this year. They overshot me a little bit. They ended up going 10-3 in Coach Kill's last season before he retired this offseason. But Diego Pavia, excellent player there. Super impressed by him. And the New Mexico State Aggies finishing in second place, runners-up in Conference USA. Louisiana Tech, I had going 6-6. They went 3-9. Hank Bachmeier just did not work out well this year for Tech. I think he got injured possibly as well. So that was another issue for the Bulldogs there. Mid-Tennessee, 6-6 for me. They ended up going 4-8. I thought the Blue Raiders kind of were going to be a 500 team. They ended up 2 games short of that. It was really a drastic drop-off after Western Kentucky. The top 4 teams in the Conference USA making bowl games. The other teams, the other 5, not even close, with Mid-Tennessee being the closest one at 4-8 there. Liberty, probably one of my worst ones of the offseason. 5-7 for me. They ended up winning the conference, going 13-0, 12-0 in the regular season, winning Conference USA Championship, and then playing Oregon in the Fiesta Bowl as their only loss of the season. But yeah, I was super surprised. Did not know Caden Salter was going to go off like that. The Flame, Jamie Chadwell's Flames, also excellent offense in terms of running the ball as well. So the Flames really shocked me on that one. Jacksonville State also surprised me. I had them going 4-8. They ended up making a bowl game, going 8-4 on the year. I was super surprised. Their first season in FBS play, the Gamecocks, excellent season there in Jacksonville, Alabama. FIU, I had them finishing last. They did finish last. However, they did win one more game than I thought they were going to be. Or I had them finishing second last. They ended up finishing last. I had them they won one more game than I thought they would, though. 3-9 for me, 4-8 in reality. Didn't really matter. 1-7 conference record, finishing last for the Panthers. And Sam Houston State also up to the FBS this year. Did not think they were going to do well. They did not. They ended up exactly the same record that I thought they were going to have, 3-9, finishing third the last in Conference USA. I had them in last place. So some pretty close ones. Was pretty right on New Mexico State and Western Kentucky, and Sam Houston way off on Jacksonville State, Liberty. So yeah. Let's go to the 4 FBS Independents. Notre Dame, I had 8-4. The Irish ended up going at 9-3. So I was close. I was close on that one. I didn't think they had a great team. I love Aldrich Estime, love JD Bertrand and some of their other players that they have going into the draft this year. However, I just did not think Sam Hartman was going to put this team over the top, and it didn't. He didn't. They did end up with a 10-win season with a bowl game win in the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. However, 9-3 in the regular season, just one game above where I thought they were going to be. The biggest one here was UConn. Really, really off on them. I was excited from Jim Mora Jr.'s first season with UConn. Last year, they got to 6-6. Did not turn out very well this year. They didn't cure the quarterback issue that they had last year. Antonio Rosa, though, the running back, excellent performer there. 8-4 for me. They went 3-9. So hopefully Coach Mora can get it turned around and get back closer and maybe even above where they were in 2022. Army, the Knights, I had exactly 6-6 for them. So that was nice to see. They didn't get to a bowl game. But 6-6 exactly is where I had them for Army. And then UMass, I undershot them. I had them 1-11. They ended up going 3-9. Kind of surprised by the Minutemen this year. 2 games above where I had them. But UMass is still probably the worst FBS team in the country. So there you go. And that's the show for today. Pretty short. Continuing to watch the Combine here tonight and tomorrow and Sunday as well. Make sure you tune into that. And don't forget to follow us on all our social media at FAA Podcast on Instagram and X, FAA_bets as well. FAApodcast.com is our website. You can check us out here on YouTube, Facebook, X, and Instagram, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and TikTok at Football Addicts Anon. We'll be back next Friday talking Pac-12 and SEC recaps. We'll have your MAC and Mountain West on Monday. Thank y'all. We'll see y'all on Monday. And make sure to tune in Monday, noon Eastern. We will be dropping our first ever Mock Draft Monday show that we're going to record on Sunday night.